Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience tuning in the South and our online audience joining us around the world, including with our friends at iHeartRadio. We're glad you guys could be with us as well. At the time that we're doing this conversation today, it is Children's Book Week, and I have a great set of guests that are joining us for this next hour, starting with Theresa Fraser and Eric E.W. Fraser. They're the co-authors of a new book called We're All Not the Same, But We're Still Family. We're going to talk to them not only about the writing of the book, but also their personal story to help make this book possible. It's a great book not only about adoption, but also about love, which is really what matters in any type of a relationship. We'll talk to Theresa and Eric about that, and of course let you guys know how to get your own copy of the book. Theresa, Eric, hello to you, and welcome to the program.
Hi. Hello. So happy to be here.
Oh, the pleasure is definitely all mine. As I said, we will be reminding our audience how they can be able to get the book. But I want to begin with the two of you about the response to it. So, Eric, I'm going to start with you. I mean, what has it been like for you to see the way that people have been responding to this book?
It was really amazing to see that even though I'm not some big important person, just by putting my story out there, I've helped countless people, either in their own way or through someone they know, helping them get to where they need to go. But you're big and important to us.
Oh, without a doubt, right? And so, Theresa, that leads me to you. I mean, we find out, of course, at the end of the book, the backstory for the two of you in this book. But what has it been like for you to see the way that people are responding to it?
Well, first of all, I have to say thanks to Victor Volkman with Loving Healing Press, because it was his encouragement and ongoing support that got this project off the ground. In about 2011, I had a book called Billy Had to Move, which was talking about a little guy coming into foster care, and we were hinting at what adoption might be like, and he was meeting a play therapist, which is my profession, for the first time, to help him deal with his feelings of loss and anxiety. And then Victor said, we really need an adoption book, and I said, I have one in mind that my son and I have written, one of our kids have written together, Eric, obviously, and it's about adoption openness. And there's another one that's going to be coming out soon on adoption disruption, which happens a lot too, sadly. To be honest, Eric and I wrote it together, and I expected it would go to Victor and it would go through lots of editorial changes. And he was like, fantastic, now we just need to do the graphics. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's been really widely received by therapists and families alike. I got an email a couple of weeks ago from a family in California that said, thank you so much. This really helped our family and our extended family come to appreciate, how we can connect with biological family of the little person we adopted. And that is like the best response of all, knowing that you can support a family in their journey to look at openness in a different way.
And you're right. And I have to say, again, going into the book, I did not know what to expect when I initially read it. And I want to, before we go any further, definitely mirror what you said, Theresa, when it comes to Victor and Loving Healing Press, because they do amazing work. It's been great. I was sharing with you before we went on the air here, working with Victor over the years. A lot of important books, I think, have been published by Loving Healing Press that definitely deserve the recognition. This being one of them, in that it not only talks about adoption, but the role of the birth family as well, something I think a lot of us don't think about. But I want to ask you, Theresa, and Eric, you can feel free to chime in on this. Did you know going in that you didn't just want to talk about the making of a family, that you wanted to also address the fact that there could be an existing family and navigating that?
Absolutely. That was totally why we were motivated to do that, because Eric has grown up in our family. He came to us when he was a little less than 2 years of age, and we fell in love right away. And with lots of kids, but we fostered lots of kiddos over the years, and always tried to, where possible, involve biological family if we could. One of our other kiddos is, I guess when she was in it was right before she was turning 18. She wasn't, in Canada it's different than the U.S. There's sometimes kids are in foster care and they're not legally allowed to be adopted. So this young person, well, that was the case. And every time we met with their worker, we said, is there any chance we can have contact with BioMom? Is there any chance? Because we really strongly believe as parents that if we can help kids navigate relationships with support, then they're more likely to have a more successful reconnection with family where possible. But over the years, we've had BioFamily come over and have dinners with us and, teach me how to make, I had one mom once teach me how to make curried goat, and, and it's really lovely when you can have those kind of relationships, because the kids then realize that they don't have to choose between people. They have a whole, a team of people, a whole group of people that care about them. We really wanted to, in this book, to kind of highlight a little bit of Eric's story too, because it really was magical, really magical. At 13, he said he was having a hard time. In June, we have Father's Day in Canada, and do you remember? He was having such a hard time. And I was like, what's going on for you? And he was like, okay, I remember what my birth mom looked like, and I remember her, but I don't know anything about my birth dad. And it really, when kids were talking about, do you look like your mom or dad? I said my dad, but I don't really know, and I really want to find him. And at 18, because it was a closed adoption, we could do that. But my husband and I really made the decision that it was worth trying to see if we could find his birth dad and see where that went. And we found him pretty quickly on social media, a couple days, and started having conversations with him. And in my work as a therapist, I'll often, when I work with adoptive families, I'll often say, have you had a conversation with each other about, what if your adopted child finds birth family on social media? It's really easy these days. Have you got a plan about how you want to do that? What are your thoughts about that? And in our case, once we did find his birth dad and started conversations and explained that he just wants to get to know his dad, and we said, it's not a contest for us. You're always going to be his dad, but he's got 2 other parents that love him too. And then we just started the journey of finding family a little at a time.
To add
Eric,
on to that,
go ahead.
I've been very lucky to have the proper opportunities in place to meet all the people that I've met in my biological family. And a lot of that has really come from hard work and determination and a lot of upset of not getting to where you want to get right away, not finding people as fast as you want to find. And to me, it was really important to share that, because other people might not have that story or get a chance to share it, but to know that it is possible to have happen to you is just empowering.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question that I honestly don't know the answer to, and it's about the discovery of the birth family, because I thought that was an interesting twist to the story. Before we do that, though, I want to remind our audience, for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome Theresa Fraser and also Eric E.W. Fraser. We're talking with them not only about their book, We're All Not the Same, but We're Still Family, an adoption and birth family story, but what it's been like for them to see the response to this story, as well as their own journey as well. So, Eric, I'll start with you with this part of the question, because the main character of the book, for those who haven't read it, is Deshaun, and Deshaun has the questions that are obvious questions. Who do I look like? Do I look like, my dad, and that kind of thing. What was it like for you to kind of incorporate those questions and feelings in Deshaun in the book this way?
Well, a lot of them are genuine feelings and coming from genuine places of those are questions I have asked, especially going through the school system. A lot of the time on Mother's Day or Father's Day, they ask you to draw a picture. For me, growing up, it was always difficult because it was, which picture do I draw?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Because to me, both of them are my family, but I can only draw one of them, but I want to show both.
Yeah.
Wow, good point. And Theresa, what about for you? As we see it kind of played out in the book, and knowing that this is, I think that's the thing that got me when I was reading this. I'm like, wait a minute, this is not just a book. This is what some people actually deal with. What was that like for you? The idea of the search and what might be discovered?
It was really kind of scary, to be honest, because you don't know who's going to be the other end of the phone line.
Right.
And then the first thing we had to realize was the actual name of Eric's biological father. We had fostered a child from the same community that he grew up with the same name. So years before, because we'd been 30 years. So there was a little bit of us wondering, is this the same person? And it turned out that it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, your fear is, and you know, we're really lucky that we were able to navigate and negotiate and create this relationship that is like all family relationships. It's not perfect, right? There's always going to be things you wish were different. And as the parent, you want to protect your kiddo from the things that might be that you can't even put your finger on and don't even know might be an issue. And Eric and I were talking before this interview today where, you know, we talked about how the gift of this experience for us and for families that I work with that I help navigate this is that at least the kids know. So, you know, they don't have a fantasy in their head about what could be or what was. At least they know, and then they're working from there. And we were really lucky with Eric's family that they could see our interest for what it was. It was love for him to have a sense of who his roots are and where he comes from. And that I don't believe any parent that, you know, agrees to having their biological child up for adoption doesn't love their child. I believe they love them with their whole heart. It's a real, wow, what a hard position to be in to say, I don't think I can raise this child, not knowing who is going to raise them. So, I mean, my husband and I have always come from that place too, that, you know, even as foster parents, when you hear the stories of what kids have experienced, you know, no biological parent, you know, wakes up and says, oh, I'm going to have a child and I'm not going to rate, you know, do the things I need to do for them. Everybody wants to be the best parent they could be, but, you know, some of us have opportunities that others don't have, and some of us have support systems that others don't have. And I think it's pretty brave to say, and very loving to say, I need help, right? So we didn't know what we were going to find. And I'll often say that to families I work with too, that, you know, what's on paper and what you're told isn't necessarily all the information. Like, we didn't know that Eric had 2 full siblings with both biological parents. We weren't aware of that. And when we started to find family, we found that out. And we have a picture of the 3 full siblings beside each other, and oh my gosh, they're the spitting image of each other. And getting them all together in a room, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so amazingly beautiful. 3 very different personalities, but lots of similarity, eh?
Yeah.
And I guess it was a real risk to go on the journey, and it's a risk for any family because it might not turn out as well as it did for us. Quite frankly, I'd contacted his biological mother too, and it didn't go as well because she has a lot of anger and resentment about not having Eric in her life. And I think there's like 9 or 10 kids altogether that she doesn't have in her life that are living with other people. And, you know, maybe someday we can circle back and have a different connection. But it was really clear that, you know, at 18 now, almost 19, he can hear her story for look at the vulnerability and the anger and where she's coming from. But at 13, he wouldn't have been able to make sense of that. So we didn't pursue that at 13 with him. Because
you know,
ultimately we want to protect.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Theresa.
No, I said ultimately we want to protect them, but at the same time help them navigate. That's why I'm a big believer for kids, even if they're not adopted and they're in foster care. If they haven't had contact with biological family, the stats say that kids will go out and try and find their biological family. So if they've left the child welfare system and there's no one helping them set up that first phone call, set up that first visit, you know, have dinner, and then maybe have to navigate setting some boundaries around, you know, what contact's going to look like. If there's no one supporting the young person in doing that, it makes it a really hard, it's a hard thing for a kid to navigate.
Right. And you brought up something that I thought was such an interesting part of the book. I'm going to speak from the perspective of Deshaun's journey with his father, his birth father, Michael, and then you all can tie it in if you would like or not with your personal story. But I think one of the things I thought about when I was prepping for your segment was I think one thing this book does is it releases the shame. And not just the shame that some people feel for I was put up for adoption, you know, someone didn't want me, but we're able to get the other side of what the truth is. And in the book, you allow us to see exactly what led to Deshaun being adopted and what was happening with his parents. You know, how Michael, the father in the book, you know, did not realize that that Deshaun was even really his child because he was told otherwise, and then realizing, of course, that he was no longer around. But I love the fact that the book says, and this is what I want to talk to you about, Michael felt sad that he hadn't seen Deshaun grow up, but he was happy that his adoptive family loved his son. Is that also part of what you hope, Theresa, and Eric, you can feel free to chime in on this, that not only will the child that was adopted not feel like they weren't wanted, but also that the birth parents realized that if they were doing the right thing, by being able to give their child up or realizing that the child was okay, that they don't have that shame as well.
For me, speaking from that experience myself of when that very thing was said, to me, those words, they didn't only mean that he didn't give me up because he didn't want me. It also meant to me that I had found my place, that I was finally accepted on all fronts, not only the adoptive family, but also from the birth family, of that I have done what I needed to do. I made the choices I should have made in life, and that everything was right, essentially.
Yeah. Right.
Which is an important message for you, Dad, to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that. And I really appreciate that you used the word shame, Cyrus, because, gosh, my heart hurts for families that, are aching for their children and wondering what's happening, and are they trusting that, having to trust that other people are loving them. Not the same as they're going to love them, but loving them nonetheless. And that's been a beautiful part of our story, which is why we wanted to have it in the book, because, it was really hard to sit with people who had, had to come to terms with, I feel really bad about this. And, and I had to say, I can't tell you not to feel bad because no one has the right to do that. But I can tell you that we love this little person with our whole heart. And you've been part of our life too, because every Father's Day we talk about you and say, we bless you and hope you're happy wherever you are. So even though we didn't know you, there was acknowledgement that you helped create this beautiful human. And what a gift to be able to say that in person.
Yeah.
It was really
and I think
lovely.
that's why.
And when that, sorry, I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when I've worked with families and other families and they've been able to share those conversations, what a sense, as Eric used the word belonging and found his place, what an amazing place to be able to go, okay, we're not all perfect and we're different people and, we have, our lives have taken different turns, but we all share a love for this person and just want to be the best parents that we can be. And I think that's all any of us ever want to do, right? As parents, we just want to be the best parents that we can be.
That's so true. So what is your hope then, Theresa, than you, Eric, when people finish reading the book? It is definitely entertaining, especially, of course, being able to stand on one leg. I happen to be able to do that myself, and my brother cannot. But what is your hope when people finish reading the book that they're able to take away from it?
That no matter what cards in life you're played, it's really about how you choose to play them, not the situations you're in, and that it's worth taking the risk and taking that jump, because if I didn't take that jump, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be where I am today, able to do the things I can do.
And I have a little bit of a reaction to that, because I think that I don't think everybody gets the same cards, and sometimes the cards aren't fair. And I think with some families I've worked with that I just, I wonder if they'd gotten more support or had different experiences, could they, be able to raise their kids? Because, I think that's where we want kids to be, with their biological family wherever possible. But when that's not possible, to try and create opportunities for connection so kids know where they come from, that's really important. And the standing on one leg was actually an edit change. That was one edit change. What's the real skill?
The real skill, I can shake my eyeballs back and forth really quick, and it almost looks like they're vibrating. But the illustrator couldn't draw that, so we had to change it.
And then the tongue rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of his siblings can move their tongue in a certain way, and we were like, okay, that's good. How's that going to look at a book? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we came up with the standing up.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's true. So the first time they were all together and did it, he was like, can you guys do this? And they all did, and I was like, wow, that's so amazing. Yeah, that's what.
Wow. Well, I can't do
and
that.
luckily, biological family liked us, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, they liked us. We're so blessed that we ended up, after this whole journey of finding people, we ended up moving to the part of the country where a family is. And, you know, in part, there was a whole bunch of reasons, but one of them was, like, it'd be really nice for him to have accessibility to biological family. And, you know, his cousin comes and spends 2 weeks this summer because of COVID, because we're in the Maritimes and we have this Atlantic bubble where people can move within. And one of his cousins came and spent 3 weeks at our house, and Eric wasn't to be seen because he was off.
I was somewhere else quarantining,
but his cousin was with us, and I said to his aunt, like, is she okay with that? She goes, oh, she loves you guys. So it's really like we really are part of the family. And his grandfather moved out this way last year, and we had Christmas with him too, and it was like, what a gift that is, like, to go.
Wow.
You know, we're all together. And there was a little bit of territory for you, though, because our youngest son that we adopted was like, can I call him Granddad too? And Eric was like, no, he's my grandfather. Yeah.
Wow, what a great journey, and I'm so glad the two of you have been able to share a bit of it here, as well as the book. Again, the book is We're All Not the Same, But We're Still Family by Theresa Fraser and also Eric Fraser, an adoption and birth family story. It's available through our friends at Amazon.com as well as through Loving Healing Press. You guys could head over to LHpress.com to get this and other great books by them. So again, shout out to Victor Volkman for that. And Theresa, how can our audience stay connected with you?
They can stay connected. I have my website is maritimeplaytherapycenter.com, and I have a Facebook page that says the same. And I guess the only other thing I'd love to add for the audience is, if you're an adoptive family and you're wanting to go on this journey, find an agency near you or a therapist near you that has worked with openness and can help you navigate it. So it's a successful experience, the best way it can be for all parties involved. And ultimately, it's all about the child. So we want to make it a positive experience for the child. And there are therapists, you know, all over the U.S. and Canada that work in adoption. If you look at even play therapists in your community, there's many of them that are comfortable with adoption and get support to go through the process, because it's got to be done carefully and intentionally. And it may not always be as successful as our story, but if we can connect kiddos with culture and family and people that represent their identity, it helps them as they're developing into who they're going to be.
Wow. And that, like you said, it's all about the child, and that's the important thing. Theresa, Eric, congratulations to you again. Really appreciate this time, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, too. We appreciate it.
Oh, the pleasure's definitely all mine, and we thank you as well. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's make today amazing. Take care.